Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Tims, and I'm joined alongside my co-host. He's not the co-host. He's the actual host of Talking Halos, the CEO, the man, the myth, the legend. He's back. I'm excited to talk to you. Derek
Always seems so
Ciapola,
weird, man. Someone
right?
says man, myth, legend. I feel like I'm Zeus. I should have like lightning bolts coming out of me. Yeah, lightning bolts coming out of the arse, or some kind of crazy thing. But nevertheless, here we are.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Welcome back to your show, by the way.
You've been doing fine with it. Although you guys took a break during the whole losing streak. I'm like, okay.
Come on. It's hard. It was hard to talk about it, but we do have some fun stuff to talk about today. I'll say that. I don't know. I think we all know what we're talking about. We haven't brought it up yet. I think we can kind of give our opinions on this entire situation. But first, before we get going, of course, don't forget to follow us on all of our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're crushing it on there. We're having a lot of fun. Subscribe on YouTube if you're watching us on there. What's up, YouTube? Pound that subscribe button. Tell a friend that we are the best Angels podcast out there. Can truly do believe it. Of course, if you guys are looking to start your own podcast, jump on to Blue Wire. I know me and Nate always have fun with it and yell out Blue Wire, but I mean, Blue Wire, if you're listening to this, we're on YouTube. Get us some shirts. I'll throw Blue Wire right up here and promote you all day. I really will. I love it. And of course, guys, give us 1 second to pay the bills. All right. Let's get this show rocking and rolling. Of course, we had the big incident that happened over the weekend with the Seattle Mariners. Of course, I have to mention it. If you play a team this many times in this many days, there are going to be some tempers that flare. I don't think we saw the whole brawl happen. We have some injuries to talk about, suspensions. First off, Derek, give us your thoughts on this, man. It was intense. This was one of the best. I don't know if I can call it the best, most intense brawls that I've seen in Angels history in quite some time. A lot of punches were thrown.
And the best one I ever saw was a Kyle Farnsworth brawl in Detroit.
Yes.
It was hot that day. It was like years ago. Sitting on the first base side, just happened to have been there for that game, just checking the ballpark out. And that what we saw on Sunday reminded me a lot of that brawl. Punches everywhere, people everywhere. And yet I was blown away by the suspensions. I was blown away that the sheer number of Angels who were suspended, especially who was suspended.
Okay.
And I have questions overall as to the way this rule was really working out, because it was pretty clear. Let's just say that Phil Nevin did make the call to throw it, like, at Winker. I mean, we all know why, because they threw it at Mike Trout. They threw it at his head. I mean, so you come out there and you warn everybody right away before anything even happens. But what if by chance he wasn't thrown at Winker? It's an automatic 10 games anyways, right? So that's the first thought that came out of my mind is, okay, if by chance they weren't throwing at Winker on purpose, but you already issued the warning, and so no matter what, now the manager's out for 10 games. Great. That was my thought process. Now, of course, it looks to me like that was the entire point, was to throw at him. But, I just was like, you got to be kidding me. Bullpen guys getting suspended. Lots of bullpen guys getting suspended. How the heck did that happen when you have your own position players who aren't getting suspended? So your bullpen guys just ran in from the other side of the field and got themselves in trouble. Their closer, oh man, I got thoughts.
I think so. So let's just kind of take a step back here as well, because there was a lot that went down. Let's talk suspensions here real quick. I know a couple of days late here, but Nevin got 10 games, like you mentioned. Jesse Winker got 7. Rendon got 5. Rendon's not even playing this year, by the way. Dom Chidi got 5. Angels bullpen coach, I believe, is Dom Chidi. Dom Chidi. Yeah. Assistant pitching coach. I apologize. JP Crawford, who came in swinging, got 5 games. Andrew Wantz, who threw the pitch, got 3 games. Ryan Tepera, who was one of the first guys in, I believe he was probably in the dugout rather than the bullpen, got got 2 games. Julio Rodriguez got 2 games, who was hit or was thrown behind in the first inning. Ray Montgomery, who's the Angels bench coach, got 2 games. Bill Hasselman got 1 game, and probably the most impressive one out of all this, Manny Del Campo, the Angels interpreter, by the way, got 2. That is quite impressive. I don't think an interpreter has ever gotten suspended. It would have been interesting to see Ipe get suspended, but regardless, it's side note there. Let's take it back a couple games, probably a week or so. Michael Lorenzen hits Justin Upton in the head. 110% unintentional. I'll say that right now. I know as a pitcher and what Lorenzen throws, he has the running fastball, the 2-seam fastball. You get your elbow down, you get under a little bit, that's going to come up, and in 95, it happens. It's something that happens as a pitcher. That was 110% not intentional. Unless they were actually throwing Justin Upton, but I don't think so. I really don't think that was intentional. That's where it all started. Fast forward a couple games. At some point, I believe Jared Walsh was thrown out. I don't think that's played a huge factor into this. Now, again, fast forward to, Saturday night. Pretty close game, by the way, so I don't know why anybody's throwing at Mike Trout, runner, I believe, on second base at the time, maybe not. Trout gets the 2 heaters up and in, almost hits him in the head. I don't think that was intentional, just in my opinion. I think that Eric Swanson, it got away from him. I truly do believe. I don't think that was intentional. I, again, could totally be wrong. I don't know what's going through people's minds. Not a big Scott Servais fan. It is what it is. They end up walking him. Mike Trout on post-game explains he wasn't very happy. Moving forward onto the Sunday game, I do believe that the opener was planned by Phil Nevin to be an actual opener. I don't think that was – I would have gone opener with Jose Suarez. I think it's like a good change of pace for Suarez. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, it makes sense. Like, go ahead, and Juan's might have some good numbers against some righties that they're throwing. See if you can get an inning and a half, 2 innings out of Juan's, and before you get to Suarez, let Suarez throw. And I thought the opener worked out really well. I thought it worked out exactly how I was like, perfect. I don't think that Juan was in there to throw at him until they thought about it, by the way. Backtracking a little bit as well. After the game on Saturday, Phil Nevin was not happy at all about what happened. It seemed like the entire Angels team was on the top step yelling out at the Mariners post-game. I don't know if something they were celebrating, something. I don't know exactly what happened there. We get to Sunday. Juan comes in, throws behind Julio Rodriguez, star player, star rookie. It is what it is. We knew it was going to happen. Thought it was done there. We get into the second inning. Wanker gets thrown at. Everything explodes. We have a lot of fun. We have sunflower seeds everywhere on the field. We have bubblegum on the field everywhere. Just absolute mayhem. By the way, Archie Bradley out 4 to 8 weeks now with a broken elbow after he fell out of the dugout during the brawl. So there's that as well. Speaking of Angels cursed. So there's your recap. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I don't think that Swanson threw at anybody intentionally. I don't think that Lorenzen hit Upton intentionally. I do think that the Angels came in hot, and this is just Phil Nevin's MO. I think I'm fine with it, and I'm perfectly fine with what they did. I'm all for it. I mentioned it before. Like, you take a run at McDavid, you're going to hear about it. You take a run at Tom Brady, you're going to hear about it. And, Mike Trout, that's the scattering report. His fastball's up and in. The 2 pitches got away from Swanson. They walked him. Nobody was happy. But you got to hear about it. Mike Trout is the best player on earth. You need to hear about – you got to hear about that. You're going to have to pay for it. I don't know if that's the best way to look at it. I'm a little bit old school when it comes down to it. I think the Angels also broke a rule by not hitting Julio. I thought they just should have hit him straight up. They missed him. They missed their opportunity there. So what? Move on to the next game. Get him the next time. It is what it is. So I don't know if you agree with me. I don't know if you disagree with me. That's my thoughts on it. I think the Angels were in the right to do it. I don't know if it's a good thing that they were in the right to do it, but you gotta back up your star player, and the Angels needed a little bit of that to get going. And hopefully we see the Angels get on some type of run, because this team needs a lot of momentum.
I think that you have to consider the fact that this team has been struggling. And because they have been struggling, in a lot of cases, it's almost like nothing went right for them. Nothing really work. But I also remember when Trouty got hit in the hand earlier this year. Did they respond at all to him getting hit in the hand?
Not that I remember.
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
See,
I've been waiting for years for them to respond. I know, like the mo against the Rangers is always, Trout's getting fastballs up, Trout's getting fastballs in. I think he's been hit 12 times against the Rangers, and nothing's ever happened. So I've been waiting for it, and finally, Phil Nevin was that guy. He
I
took it for the
mean,
team.
and that's why I'm. There's a part of you that's like, well, hey, you're risking violence. These are 9,500-mile fastballs. This is the guy who's been hurt a little bit over the last couple of years, who's already been out this year. You got to protect that dude. And if that's what you got to do to let other teams know in the future, you will retaliate. Because I guarantee you, teams are going to think twice now about throwing inside on Trout. That inside, anyways.
Absolutely.
They're going to throw inside on him. I mean, everybody knows the fastball's up and in, or where his hole is right now. But they're not going to be as aggressive. They don't want that kind of problem.
No, and this is why we mentioned it. We mentioned it during spring training. The Angels needed to, and we were hoping for, to be somewhat of like the bad boys. They need that chip on their shoulder. Like they need that momentum. This is how that's just kind of what they needed, to be honest. And I'm not a big Phil Nevin fan, but this is what I like about Phil Nevin. I know, like, Phil Nevin's got your back. Like, I don't think you can. I think that Joe Madden had someone's back. I do. Like, Joe Madden's a great leader, but there aren't many coaches out there, managers out there that you can say, like, he's got my back. Phil Nevin, I think he's got everybody in that dugout's back, and that just kind of proved it. I don't know. Again, it was intentional. I'll say that, but it probably escalated a little bit more than what needed to be. But yeah, that's why I like it. I think the Angels need to be the bad boys, and right now they kind of have that label, and they need that. And if I want to compare it to hockey, they need that fourth line. They need that that those guys that are going to get in the trenches and really fight for you, and be those BS I'm just gonna say it. They need those cocksuckers. They need those that big dick energy. That's what they need. Like, it's all about that momentum. I don't know.
Okay.
They need those guys. I'm sorry, but like,
I think when you have a team that is coming off the stretch that's come off of, and you're talking about Joe Madden being a leader. I'm sure Joe Madden's been a great leader elsewhere, but listen, where was Joe Madden when this streak started? Where was his leadership then?
yeah,
Where he may have been. I know a lot of people love Joe Madden. I don't agree with the firing, by the way. I don't agree with it. But that said, why a team that listen? I was saying this a million times over when they were 27 and 17. The team is for real. I really believe that. They had a lot of things they were doing right on all sides of the game, okay? And all of a sudden the wheels come off. You need to one game, two game. Every team has their streak during the year. You start getting to 8, 9 games. And what are you doing differently? How are you pulling your team? How are you leading? And I just didn't see it.
100%.
I didn't see it.
Yep.
So I know the Lago don't like Nevin. I'm waiting to see how he does the rest of the year. But how this goes down, at least he led. And you know what? They've won 2 one-run games since.
Yeah, exactly. You need that energy. 100%. Like, that's what baseball is. It's a game of momentum, and right now, I mean, talking about it, let's see, we're podcasting right before the game starts, and we'll see how tonight's game goes. And when this comes out, we could totally be wrong, but right now they kind of have that momentum rolling. It wouldn't surprise me if they went out and swept the White Sox, and it took a couple series moving into the All-Star break, to be honest. Finish June off strong. You're not going to finish June above 500, but finish off strong and get into July. Find your way back to 500. Make a trade at the deadline for a bullpen piece. Maybe try your best to.
You need a lineup piece, man.
Exactly. You might need another hitter in there. You need Joe Adele. Like, you need to bring up Joe Adele, but find a way to get back to 500 and see where it takes you. That you went through a rough stretch. We knew that was going to be the case until about now, and now you kind of can sit back. You got a little bit of an easier stretch. Go win ball games. Go win some ball games. That's the best way to look at it. So
I feel really bad about Adele, and I feel bad about a lot of the players in that generation, Suarez and Adele and Griffin Canning. Who, I mean, is he still alive, by the way? These
get a
guys,
setback.
huh?
Get a setback.
I know. I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
My point is, I'm going back to 2019, and when everything fell apart that year, they started calling these guys up early in 2019 and 2020, and they weren't ready for it. And now I remember, I know you do remember when Griffin Canning came up, and he had some starts that where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's legitimately good, 2-3. And now, well, I have no idea what's going to happen with this guy. Suarez looked great coming in 2019, and you bring him up, and you're still trying to figure him out. Joe Adele seems to have hit a wall. You need to keep him up. At this point, just keep him up. Give him at bats. He still has every bit of ability he had before, but why is he down? Why is he down AAA? For what? You're bringing in who? Monte who? Harrison? You're bringing these guys up? Bringing these guys in from somewhere else?
He was a top 100 prospect in 2019. So I mean, he was up there with Griffin Canning. So
yeah, you know where Joe Adele was, though, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's your guy. That's the guy you've been banking your future on.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So what? You're going to give up on him now? Listen, if the season's starting to tank already, get the guy up here and let him hit. Get him used to major league hitting. What's the worst that happens? It just I had some issues with this stuff. And the worst part about it, mind me if I ran, it's been a while, okay? The worst part about it is, despite all this, when I look at the roster makeup and I look at what they did beforehand, they still have bullpen arms. Their stars have been pretty decent. This is nowhere near a bad team. They can make a run. 10% chance to make the playoffs. I believe, given the division they're in and the fact that nobody else is above 500, they can make a run to at least make the playoffs. This is not a wash season. So go for it. For the love of all good and holy, get your guys up and go for it.
Yeah.
Why are you putting around with Monte Harrison for? Dave McKinnon. No offense to him, but why? Get your guy up. Don't sit him in AAA. It's too late for that now. Get him up here and learn how to hit major league pitching.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's time that you stop beating around the bush, and especially in the bullpen. You got to figure out what you got there. If that's Silseth in the pen, if that's, you need to figure out Ortega's looked good this year. I know he went through a rough stretch. Peguero, what does he mean to you? Jose Marte hasn't been great in AAA, but I mean, it's fun. Like I just mentioned it on Twitter. You can have 6 or 7 guys in your bullpen throwing 95 to 101. That's what, like, look at the Rays. That's what they do. The Rays, their whole bullpen, their whole staff is 99 to 100 with one guy who floats it in there. But I mean, like I said, if you want to model after those guys, like, good teams, look what the Dodgers are doing. Granted, they have a lot of depth. Look what the Rays are doing. Look what the Yankees are doing.
But how did they get that depth?
Exactly what the Angels are doing right now, to be honest.
I think that's why I think they're on the right path.
Yeah, 100%.
They're on the right. It's hard when you're going through a stretch where they're disappointing. You thought they'd be better than they are. They looked better than they are at one point. I believe they are better than the record says. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, this year's not going away. But if you look deeper into what the roster is made up, if you look at the farm system, what they did last year and this year, they're on the right path. They're on the right path. And now you get the job done. Now you have to actually finish what you started, develop these guys, which has been a problem for the Angels farm system for a while now. They don't make stars. You don't make, okay, well, that's got to change. And I think they're on the right path. I think they're at least building good depth to be able to move for stars if they need to. I think it's too early to give up on the team this year. I think it's too early to give up on the roster, but for crying out loud, you got players that should be up there now. I'm focused on Adele. I really am. He should be up there. Why isn't he up there?
You need to find a spot for him too. You got
You gotta,
Marsh. You got that's the thing. Like, what spot we mentioned before? We don't. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but there is there's not a lot of room for him to get consistent ABs up there, unless Brandon Marsh is going to be that fourth outfield guy right now. And I don't know. You put Ward at third base for the time being. That could be an answer right now. I mean, I said put Ward at second base before Rendon got hurt, and then all of a sudden, I mean,
can Ward play third base?
He's played there before in the past, so I would assume so. But
yeah,
again, when
but there's a reason why he's there now.
Right? Exactly. When things happen, when good things happen, you don't want to change. Don't fix what's not broken. Taylor Ward is doing fine in the outfield, so you need to find a way to get Joe Adell in games. And we've talked about the answer before, and I don't want to jump into it too much, but there's a spot that you could DH him, but again, that would involve trading somebody, and I don't want to.
Oh, geez, this one.
I'm not going to dive into that, but
this one, the one that you upset so many people with. Great job, Killer.
I know.
Great job.
We won't jump into it. We've had numerous of podcasts, and we will more than likely continue to have numerous podcasts about trading Shohei Ohtani. But
I think the question, and I'm sorry, I've been out the loop, so you got to tell me if you actually talked about, but I know you talked about, but the question that has to be answered by somebody in that organization is Shohei going to sign? And is it possible to build a contender around basically 3-star contracts? Is it possible? And if so, then you can't trade them. It will be a disaster. It will be a public affairs disaster. However, my point is this: if you're going to trade him, you have to know it's because he's not signing. And then you can be upfront with people. Listen, he's not signing. He's not staying. He's leaving. So we're going to go rake in the prospects. I look back at teams like Houston. Yeah, I know. People wrote, oh gosh, Baltimore following this approach, where they outright told their fans, they were upfront with them. I know that's for the Angels. They just shut up. They don't say anything. But they outright told them, listen, we are doing this for this reason. And then all of a sudden fans are patient because fans value communication. If the Angels made the decision, if they've gotten to the point now where they're like, you know what, we can't re-sign Ohtani, then heck yeah, you trade him. I don't think Jared, I don't think they can get away with trading him otherwise. There's no way they can get away with trading him otherwise. The PR for that would be an absolute nightmare. He's made for that market.
I agree. And I'm not going to jump into this too much because I think we all know my thoughts. Go back and watch. I think it was on YouTube. Go ahead and watch the Trade Ohtani special. Again, we'll talk about this.
Is that the hater special?
Yeah.
Were there any death threats? That's the question.
I don't know. I didn't read all the comments, but I'm sure there were. Japan was not happy with me. So let's leave.
Why would they be? When you think again, go back to what I was just saying. The Angels market is a perfect market for him.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of, in my view, it's also probably a little bit of leverage the Angels would have in trying to re-sign him. Listen, dude, you can go off to New York and they'll be able to pay you more than we can.
Absolutely.
But this market's made for you here.
Yeah. So,
I mean, he would probably, that makes sense. But
so. All right, we will let everybody go now, guys. Again, thank you all so much for listening to this podcast here at Talking Halos. We will be back Friday to talk some more Angels baseball with you. Friday. We will
Friday.
What? Yeah, I know. Friday. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Tims, Derek on Twitter, D Ciapola. Go give him a follow. Follow all of our social medias. Hit the subscribe button. Of course, guys, thank you so much for listening and have a great rest of your day.